We now know that we can authenticate the user, but I still want to make sure that the two claims I added to the identity are being stored. To do this, I'm going to modify the secret view a little bit. What I want to do is iterate through each one of the current user's claims and write out their type and their value on the screen. However, since the user property is of type iPrincipal, I need to first cast it to claims principal to be able to access its claims. And now that I've got that, I'm just going to do a quick write out of the claim type and claim value. Okay, so let's press F5 and see what happens. Okay, so we get the login page, so let's just log in. And there it is, you can see all of the claims, or in this case, the two claims that I've got. But I guess it would be kind of cool if we could offer the ability to log out as well. So let's just add a logout link to the page as well. And I'm just going to aim it towards /auth/logout, which is going to be a new action that I'm going to create. So let's open the auth controller and add that. And since the signature is going to be the same as for the login action, I'm just going to copy that and rename it to logout. The actual task of logging someone out is actually not that complicated. All you need to do is call http context.getOwinContext to get hold of the IOWIN-context. And then you call .authentication.signout. This will tell the cookie middleware that the user needs to be signed out. And finally, we need to redirect the user somewhere. So I'm just going to do a redirect to /. Let's see if this works. Okay, hello world. So let's head over to secrets and log in. And there's the logout link. So let's try and click it and see what happens. Okay, that wasn't very impressive. But let's head over to /secret and see if we've been logged out. If we have, we should be redirected back to the login form once again. And we are. So logging out seems to be working fine. So we now know that integrating with the Katana-based authentication works fine inside ASP.NET MVC. But how do we go about doing it inside NancyFX? Well, to do that, we need to start off by adding another NuGet package. In this case, we want to add nancy.msowin-security. With that in place, we want to go ahead and secure our Nancy demo module. But instead of adding an attribute to our module like we did with the controller in ASP.NET MVC, we have to go into the constructor and call this.requires_msowin authentication, which is an extension method located in nancy.security. This will make sure that the user is authenticated before trying to use anything inside of this module. However, requiring someone to authenticate without actually using that authentication to do something seems pretty boring. So let's go ahead and get hold of the user and write out the user's name. To get hold of the user, we call context.getMSOWINUser, which is another extension method from nancy.security. Once I've got hold of the user, I'm just going to go ahead and modify the output by adding a couple of breaks and then adding user : and append user.identity.name to output the user's name on a new line. Let's see if that works. Okay, hello from MVC. So let's head over to /nancy to see if that works as well. Okay, so we get a login form. So that means that Nancy is figuring out that we're not authenticated and we need to authenticate. So let's just log in here. And there it is. It now says user : Chris. So it seems to be working. So the last thing I want to have a look at is how we can integrate with the Katana-based authentication stuff inside of a middleware. So I'm just going to head back to the startup.cs class and add another middleware into my pipeline. And since it's not going to be a reusable thing, I'm just going to add it as an async delegate. And just so I don't forget it, I'm going to start off by calling await next, because that needs to be called. And then I'm just going to do a debug.writeLine and output user : and add the CTX, which is the IOWIN-context, .authentication.user.identity.name to get hold of the user's name. But there's a little flaw in this code. We don't really know if the user has been authenticated or not at this point. So before I can write out the user's name, I want to go ahead and check if the user is authenticated by calling ctx.authentication.user.identity.isAuthenticated. And if the user is authenticated, I want to output the debug write line I just wrote. And if not, I just want to write out user not authenticated. Like that. So let's just press F5 and see if this works as well. Okay, hello from MVC. So let's head back to Visual Studio and see if we get anything written to the console. And there it is, user not authenticated. So let's just head back to the browser and log in and see what happens. And there it is, user:Chris. So that seems to be working too.